there was 9 of us, but one of them died when he was, and I think he died before I was born. And he was out playing with the little boys, and in those days, you had a house, and then you had a garage detached from the house, and then behind the garage was kind of what we called an alley, where you drove your car up and into the garage.
Right.
So, and then you put your garbage out there, and he and this little boy were playing in somebody's garbage can, and they found these olives that they had thrown out because they were poisoned, and he ate them and died, which was very sad. And then my brother Anthony was born right after he died, and my parents were just heartbroken over Johnny, and so Anthony was born, and Anthony was the pet. My mother would feed us hot dogs, and Anthony would get a steak. So it's not good to have a pet in the family.
Well, not with that many in the family, too.
That's right. But my dad, he was very strict. One time Anthony wasn't home for supper, and we all sat around the table, all sat together for our supper meal, and Anthony wasn't there yet. And so he came in, he was kind of late, and my dad met him. We had a little pantry. And when he came in, my dad took his belt off and really gave it to him. He said, I'm going, I'm gone. And all the rest of us were just sitting there like, we thought it was so funny.
The reason he couldn't thank Alvera is because he couldn't catch it.
Well, it's so funny because in winter, it was winter, and so we'd sit on the floor and we'd play and we'd laugh and have so much fun. And my father would tell us to be quiet. Well, kids.
Especially with that many kids.
With that many kids. So he got up, he was mad. So so we scattered. And so I scampered under, we had a big high buffet. So I scampered under that buffet, and it had kind of fat legs, and I stood on my tiptoes, right behind the legs of the buffet, and he went all over that house looking for me. The rest got it. But I stood there on my toes. He never found me. It was so funny. One day he was spanking me, and I said to my dad, I said, you know what? One of these days, I'm going to get big, and you're going to be little, and then I'm going to spank you. I remember saying that. No, I remember he started laughing, but I was just little, But he was laughing, and I didn't know what he was laughing at, but I agree he meant it. then, oh dear.
So you were quite the young lady at that time. You had all the boys coming after you.
Well, any young girl does. Any young girl does.
Yeah, but I've seen the pictures.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures of when you were younger. So you were a looker.
But I had I don't know, I really had a desire in my heart to serve the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to go to Bible school.
Yeah.
And I was going with a boy, his name was Bill. And that, I really liked him a lot. Mm-hmm. And he lived on a farm. There were 10 children in the family, and he was the baby, and he was going to fall heir to the farm. Mm. And my parents, of course, liked that.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever I had a boyfriend, they wanted to know, who's his mother? Who's his father? What kind of a job does he have? They want to know all the family history. And I said to them, what difference does it make,
And now you ask me those exact questions, don't you?
Yeah, because you learn after a while, you marry into a family, you don't.
That's right.
And so, now I forgot what I was going to say. What was I talking about?
Anyways, who's his mom, who's his dad? You're talking about Bill. He was falling.
Oh, yeah. And he, and I told him I wanted to go to Bible school, and he said, I have no desire to go to Bible school. I said, well, then this is it. And so I went to Bible school, and I grieved. I really cried about it. And so he joined the Air Force, and he became a captain in the Air Force. and then he came out of the Air Force, retired from the Air Force, and he died shortly after from a heart attack. He'd been to the doctor. There was nothing wrong with him, and we were overseas then. And I thought, my goodness, if I'd have married him, I'd have been a widow a long time now. And
But
so,
you would have had a farm.
yeah, washing, milk cans.
Yeah.
Anyway, but my sister Florence said he was buried in Newcastle, and my sister Florence, his wife, was standing at the coffin, and she said, I have a sister Alvera that was very good friends with your husband. She said, I know, I heard all about it.
Uh-oh. So obviously you made an impression on him.
Bill,
Yeah.
we were going to, he was a nice guy. Real, brought up in the church. Parents were wonderful Christians. Yeah. But, I had a call and he didn't, so that made the difference.
You went to Bible school.
Yeah, I was a year ahead of Bill.
You were a year ahead, so...
And I knew I was going to be a missionary. So they had this nursing course in New York, Booth Memorial Hospital, Salvation Army Hospital. And you could go for a year and get training. And so I thought that's what I'd like to do. We were right in New York City, in New York City. And that was back in 49. And you graduated 49. Okay, it was 48, 49. So I went to, as soon as I graduated, I went to nursing. And you had to keep everything under lock and key. You had to have a key to your door, and then you had a key to your room. You had to keep everything locked because it's just, back then it was just awful. And I used to be scared to death when I'd be on the 11 to 8 shift because I had to walk 5 blocks to the hospital. And boy, would I pray. But I got there okay. I got back okay. Man, but that was wonderful training.
So
I had this
jelly.
nutrition class, and we learned how to make a jelly omelet, which I thought, was nice. Really. And so we all practiced, and I knew how to make a jelly omelet. So when I went to Bible school and met Bill, and he came to visit, I thought I'd make him a nice breakfast. And I made him a jelly omelet. Had it look very nice in the plate. And he started to eat it, and I thought he'd be really thrilled with it. I noticed he was eating it kind of slow, kind of eating the egg and leaving it.
Very slow.
And my mother came along, and Bill can tell this better than I can. She's, "Hey, Bill, what's that?" and Bill said, "Alvera made me this jelly omelet." What? And she picked up the plate and she threw the jelly omelet in the sink. "I make you breakfast." And she made him Italian sausage and eggs and Italian bread. Thought he was marrying the wrong person.
I didn't know which one I wanted to marry.
Oh, man.
But your dad, he was a strict authoritarian.
Oh, man, he was the boss.
He was the boss. And he loved his bushes, his rose bushes.
Oh, yeah, we had bushes all around the house, And one time he faithfully went to church Tuesday night, Thursday night, and Sundays. But it was the Italian church, and we were going to the American church. So we didn't go during the week. And so this Tuesday night, he went to church with my mom, and the hedges had overgrown, and he'd had them grow for a purpose because he wanted them to grow a little bit and then shape them. And so my sister Betty, 2 years younger than me,
And she was the baby, right?
she was the baby. She got the idea that she's going to trim them. She trimmed them all right. So my dad come home. He looked at the hedges. He took such pride in the way his house looked. He said, "Boy." He said, and Betty said, "Look, Pop." She said, "I I trimmed the hedges. He said, boy, oh boy, I'm ashamed. It was this sister, my little sister. I call her my little sister. She was going with this boy Ellis. So he came to see her. My dad was fixing the roof on the garage. And she said, Ellis, you... She said, you go out there and help my dad. So he got up there. And there was this big can of tar. And did he fall in it or what happened, Bill?
He like knocked it over or something and slid off the roof.
He slid off the roof into the garden. Weren't there like stakes with like stuff growing up
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah,
Tomato
that's
steak.
made him and knocked the tar over or something. I don't
Yeah,
remember. It was
yeah.
just a terrible catastrophe. My father said, "You get out." Oh man.
Oh boy. So what did you think about this guy that was across the way peeling potatoes?
I didn't think just another guy.
Just another guy.
Wasn't there some nice Italian guy that you thought was...
Oh yeah. I thought, Italian. I thought, oh man. Well, Thanksgiving came and I didn't have any money to go home, so we were stuck at school. And I think you were there that Thanksgiving too. Anyway, few of us, and so you get to really know each other because you go in the kitchen, you cook your own meal.
Right.
And he sat across from me,
The Italian guy.
the Italian guy, and I watched him eat, and that was the end. I thought, oh man, to sit across from this the rest of my life and watch him eat like that was the end.
You didn't think you could teach him some table manners?
I wasn't about to try to teach an Italian table manners. Yeah. Oh man.
How'd you feel about the way Grandpa ate?
Oh, he was always. He did very nicely.
He ate slow, he talked slow.
Talked slow, but he used to get up and play his accordion, Elizabeth. And the girls used to they'd go gaga after him.
I've never heard about that.
Yeah.
Bill Farrand was
Bill Farrand with
popular.
his accordion always sing, "Just a closer walk with thee." Granted, Jesus, if you please. The girls just loved him. And I thought, well, this is one girl.
Alvera told him, she said,
I
don't
said,
trust
this
that
is
guy.
one girl that's not going to fall in love with that Bill Farrand. And my friend just fell in love with him. Her name was Roberta White. I said, Roberta, I said, look, I said, he's going to break your heart. I said, don't. I said, he said he said we were going to get married and go to CBC. I said, don't believe him. I said, he just fell a line.
I usually propose to him the first time.
Proposed to him the first time? I've never heard about this before.
Oh yeah, he did. And one girl was redhead. She was kind of stout, and she'd say, "Brother
That
Farrand."
was your fault. You were the one that told me. You said, no, why don't you be nice to some of these ugly girls instead of...
Yeah.
And so I went and bought her some ice cream because Alvera suggested it.
No, I said, be nice to her.
And she said, I just went and sat in my room and ate the ice cream and thought of you.
Uh-oh.
And I thought, oh, brother. I could have twisted Alvera's neck about that.
So Dad kind of played the field there a
Oh,
little
he
bit, huh?
did. He did. He did.
Of course, he was a little older because he had been in the Navy.
Yeah, and then we were there for this Thanksgiving. I don't know why you didn't go home. You had the money to go home. The rest of us were all poor as Job's turkey. We couldn't go home. And he was pushing me on a swing. And he said, you know, Alvera? He said, all beautiful girls are dumb. He said, but you're not dumb. I said, oh, come on, Bill Farrand.
I told her she was an exception.
Oh.
Oh, how many girlfriends did you go through in Bible college?
Lots.
No, I'm not so There were some nice girls.
Not seriously. He'd just kind of give them a line like, "We'll get married and go to CBC."
How many girls did you give that line to?
Oh, I don't think not too many. Roberta, she was a joker. And,
Well, she didn't. She thought you meant it.
well, I didn't. I can't imagine. She's a very nice girl, good singer. Yeah, she was a nice girl.
Yeah, and I'd keep telling her. I said, he doesn't mean what he tells you. And then in the meantime, we had this revival. In the meantime, you know, and we started going together. And I was so ashamed I could hardly face her. Oh, I thought, oh man. Yeah, we were. Bill went up. He told I got this church, and preached 6 months to one old man and me, and you know we'd fast and pray.
Right.
And I was kind of discouraged once. And the Lord, I had a dream, and our little church was full of people. And I noticed this one family sat on. They filled up a whole bench, about six or eight of them, and the church only seated about 40 or 50 people. And the next Sunday, then I told Bill, I said, I dreamed our church was full of people. And the next Sunday, this family came in and sat at the exact spot I saw them. I thought, oh man, and so we were just really encouraged. And then an eye doctor, he was an optometrist, came in and got saved, gave us property, and we had filled the church up. That was about 2 years. And so one day I was praying and just felt like the Holy Spirit said, "What about Salon?" It was called Salon then. So Bill was out in the garden. And I went out. I don't know what you were doing up there. And I said, "You know what? What about Salon? Did we forget about that?" He said, "Well," he said, "why don't you write and get an application?" So I did. And we got a letter right back immediately. And Brother Ketchum, who was the field director then, he wrote right back and he said, "It seems to me you folks have all the qualifications." He said, "When I got your letter saying you wanted to go to Salon, there was a letter. The next letter I picked up was the superintendent from Salon asking for a couple." And he said, "It seems to me you folks have all the qualifications. Fill out the application." He's even sent a doctor's thing for us to get examined. And we were in Salon in 6 months.
Wow.
6 months we were there.
You came home from Sri Lanka, and then you started working with T.L. Osborne.
Yeah, we were invited. We went to see a friend of ours. We are itinerant. Went to see a friend of ours, and he said, "Bill," he said, "come and go to breakfast with me tomorrow." He said, "T.L. Osborne's going to have a meeting, and he wants to meet the ministers." We were there about 2 years. That was from 50.
We were there 2.5 years. We were from 58, January of 58 till June of 60. We were there. And then we went in evangelistic work.
And then Bill got tired because you had to preach Osborne. You know, if you're working for somebody.
Yeah.
And so we really felt released. And then he'd come to Springfield, and the
very missionaries that were begging me for money
and
wouldn't
getting
even
money from
speak
Osborne.
to me.
Yeah.
Because I was with Osborne, you know.
Right.
And we were out of the loop.
Oh boy, I felt
So-
alone.
So, but we felt released to leave, and so we did. We went into evangelistic work, and then while we were in evangelistic work, about a year, wasn't it? We thought of branching out then to overseas evangelism. But then one night, we'd gone there early, and Bill was setting up his accordion, whatever. And I was looking at the evangels, and Brother Ketchum was making an appeal for missionaries to go to Sri Lanka, Philippines. And I just felt a quickening in my spirit. And I thought, oh no. Because you and Wink were small then,
Right.
you know, and I didn't want to take you overseas.
Right.
We'd been in Sri Lanka, and I didn't want to take you overseas. I wanted you to go to your own school, to your own country. And boy, but it was strong. So I brought the evangel home. We were staying in an apartment. I don't
And
know
she
if it
laid
was
it
something.
out on
I
the
put it on
desk,
the
right?
desk where we were staying. So Bill read the article, and he said, "Oh, honey, look, this Ketchum, is appealing for missionaries to go to the
I said,
Philippines.
maybe we ought to go.
And
She said,
so-
I was thinking the same thing myself.
Oh, but I really didn't want to go. And so we wrote, and Brother Ketchum says, he answered right away. He said, because he knew we were missionaries, but I really did not want to go. But I never told Bill that. I never. And so while we itinerated and everything, I would wait till the kids were in bed, Bill was in bed, and then I'd pray and I'd cry and I'd say, "Oh Lord, I don't want to go to the Philippines," and I didn't want to go. And I was, until we got there, I still didn't want to be there. But Bill was all excited about going, and then the first Friday night we were there, I went up to the chapel. The kids were having Friday night chapel, so I went in there, and I was standing there and just looking around at these kids, think, what in the world am I doing here?
They were all elementary kids,
That's all
there
the
was
schooling
no high
they
school
had.
students.
And I said, and the Lord spoke to me just as clear as could be. It was like He said my name. He said, Alvera, you're looking at these students like they're nothing. Ordinary. But I want you to know they're special, and the thing that makes them special is because I've called them. And I am going to use these students, and I'm going to send them around the world to preach the gospel. And I've sent you here to help train them. Now, and the thing that came over to me, either shape up or ship out.
Right. Right.
So, oh man, I stood at attention quick, And in my inner being, I said, yes, sir. So I shaped up. Boy, every time I entered that classroom, it was always with a sense of destiny on the lives of these students.